Ladies and gentlemen, my name is TotalBiscuit. Let's have a look at the Battlefield 4 beta, shall we? This is the early access beta that came out a little bit before the open, which is coming on October the 4th. And I've had a bit of a chance to put a few hours into this, so I'd like to give you my initial thoughts on it and show you what's available. So the beta has two modes, that being Domination and Conquest. Domination is the infantry-focused one. It doesn't have any vehicles, and it's 32-player with smaller variants of the maps and significantly closer and easier to capture points. So more of a kind of ground war setup, whereas this is your very standard and expected Conquest vehicular nonsense that comes from your 64-player Battlefield 4 game. Now, you've got Siege of Shanghai as your default map. I'm hoping they bring out another one because we have seen a lot of this one already. This is definitely not new by any stretch of the imagination. But I'm going to run through mostly the loadout stuff and what's going on here, and then we'll actually get into the game. Alright, so what you're seeing in the corner there is a very handy little feature which allows you to spectate exactly who you're going to spawn on. So if I want to spawn on this guy, this is what is currently happening around his area. Or I could spawn on that guy, this is where he currently is. Or as you saw, you know, the helicopter, you can have a look at that as well. Yeah, you can still... Oh, down it goes, never mind. Basically, anything you can deploy on, you can get a little bit of vision of before you start, which is quite handy. This even includes these. If I want to deploy directly into a vehicle, I can, and this is what it looks like around the area. If that was getting fired on, then maybe I wouldn't want to spawn there. So it's a nice little piece of information which avoids you getting spawn killed. Also, the spawn areas are quite wide, meaning you can spawn in a wide variety of different places around the spawn, which makes it a little bit more difficult to camp you. In fact, it's nigh on impossible. So that's good. Alright, let's have a look at loadout, shall we? So we've got 4 here. Assault, Engineer, Support, and Recon once again. And we're going to have a look and see how this actually works. So you can actually customize your loadouts in the battle log, which is the web-based server browser thingy prior to starting, if you like. Or you can do it in-game, whichever you prefer. It's nice to be able to get those loadouts sorted out before you go in-game so you don't waste too much time. Annoyingly enough, this chat box actually comes up over things which you need to click. So I'm not sure what they're doing with that. They could maybe not have that happen. Alright, so... weapon customization, pretty much a lot of gun porn, really. As you can see, the gun model is very high quality, very high poly, nicely textured work. And then you can select from your optics, accessory, barrel, underbarrel, and a paint job. Now, the weird thing about this is you now have the so-called battle pack equipment, and battle packs are gained at certain experience levels. Wouldn't at any point surprise me if they decided to start charging microtransactions for it, Mass Effect 3 style. But they are different variants cosmetically of the same thing, yeah? You see, the vertical grip and the ergo grip are the same thing, but they look different. And this is similar with these optics, the Coyote red dot sight, which annoyingly enough you can't look at before you try and... I guess since you can't buy them yet and it's just random, it doesn't really even matter if you look at it or not, but I think it would definitely be a better idea if they allowed you to click it and see what it looked like on the gun model before you tried to pursue it. But it's the same. It's a different kind of red dot sight. So that's what you can do there. There's limitations otherwise. I'm actually kind of surprised that this is all that's available. I have to assume they're going to put more in it. Just having 2 red dots and an iron sight as your possible choice for an assault rifle seems a little silly and very, very limited. Same here, laser sight, green laser sight, pretty much exactly the same thing as you can imagine. It does what you would expect, but again, it's battle pack items. And then you've got your barrels, like your flash hider and things like that. The weird thing about the flash hider is that appears to be something that you can't get otherwise, which I'm not too keen on. And we talked about the idea of the battle pack items being mostly cosmetic. This is not the case with the flash hider. I'm really hoping they don't do the same damn thing that they did with Battlefield 3, which is make that a pre-order item. And then you got your paint jobs, which, again, you can't check out before you actually try and get them, which is a little silly. Fortunately, the game kicked me out for being too idle, so I can't really spend... What the... That's an interesting bug. I've never seen that one going on before. Anyway, it kicked me out for being idle for too long, so we'll have a quick look at what the other classes offer very quick, and then we'll get into the game and show you what's going on there. So, Assault is what you would expect. Your gadget, your primary gadget, is a separate grenade launcher, and you've got your first aid pack, so it's very similar to the way that Assault worked in the previous game. You've then got your Engineer, who carries a PDW weapon, along with a pistol, a rocket launcher, and a repair tool. Your sport class will have your LMGs, and then you've got an XM25 Airburst as your default, which is an interesting one. That is something that's designed to detonate behind cover so that you can clear people out. It's quite a nice little item. And your ammo pack as well there. And your recon has C4 explosives and the PLD, which is a laser target designator, which can be used to provide everybody on your team with a lock-on ability, even if your missile launcher doesn't actually have that. So that's pretty good. And of course, you've got your scout rifle with that as well. I don't know what the hell's going on with this, but let's spawn in, and we'll start as an assault, I think. Alright, let's rock and roll. So welcome to Battlefield 4. Well, the first things you'll notice, actually, is that when you start running, you get a little bit of momentum gain here, which is nice. You don't start off at top speed. It takes a little bit of time to get up momentum. Your actual movement feels pretty damn good in this game. I'd argue better than most of the previous Battlefield titles, and most first-person shooters in general that have this tendency of just inexplicably allowing it to get up to full speed instantly, which doesn't really feel that great. So the overall momentum and speed in the game, moving as a infantryman, is really quite awesome. I like it a lot. Alright, let's rock and roll in this vehicle, shall we, and see where it goes. This place is already a little bit of a mess. There is certainly destruction available. I'll show you this whole levolution thing soon. I'll have to see whether or not we've actually... Oh, we have demolished it, yeah. So, the big skyscraper, that is the big skyscraper. It is now, as you can very clearly see, completely and totally destroyed. There are very few buildings in the game that you can actually do that to. That is the only one on this level that will be fully demolished. The only one. And if you do demolish it, then Point C becomes an entirely different beast. An entirely different beast. As you might imagine. It becomes essentially a rubble-strewn wasteland that is pretty good for sort of crawling around and infantry warfare and things like that. I have a feeling this is going to get ugly. I'm going to dive into the river just to avoid that tank. Or alternatively, if the skyscraper is up, then you've got some multi-level warfare in lobbies and a penthouse on the top of the skyscraper. I'll be able to show you the difference between that once we start the game again. Everything else is just a case of you can put holes in it, but you can't blow it up. So, less Bad Company 2, more Battlefield 3 style of doing things, which... not the biggest fan of, I've got to say. I was hoping for maybe a little bit more destruction, but DICE has made it abundantly clear that that's not the way they want to go. They don't want to see the entire level flattened by the end of it, so I guess we kind of have to respect that decision. We will not be seeing full destruction as we go. As you can see, Battlefield 4's beta has not improved the community, and they are just as horrible as ever. So the first thing I would do is turn off your VoIP. The second thing I would do is mute chat. It's probably the best idea. I assume you can mute chat. I certainly hope so. We'll have a look at the options menu once we've... Oh, hello. We'll have a look at the options menu once we have got to restart this particular map, and then we can try that one again. Where'd it go? Where'd it go? Now, graphically, you'll notice one thing immediately. The damn thing doesn't have a blue filter on it. That's wonderful, I might add. Absolutely goddamn wonderful. Because the blue filter was terrible. Nobody liked it. Everybody hated it, wanted rid of it, and they couldn't, so... Now, this time around, they decided not to put it on there, although otherwise the actual graphical improvements, I've got to say, arguably marginal. They look good, don't get me wrong. It is a good-looking game. But Battlefield 3 was such an advancement that I guess it was unreasonable to expect a massive change. But what I will say is the scale of the levels is very impressive. A lot of these buildings you can land on top of, you have a fantastic view distance from the top of them. And in combination with the updated physics and the rather fantastic destruction, it is one of the most impressive looking games on PC. I don't think there's really an argument about that. Performance-wise, the beta's not bad right now, although I feel it could definitely use some work. So I believe SLI currently works in the game, so I turned both my Titans on to try and get this up. And I am playing it on what appears to be maximum at around 60. Sometimes it drops a little bit below that, but for the most part it sits around 60, which I'm pretty happy with. Admittedly, if you need 2 Titans to get Ultra to 60, then... That's a tall order for most people, and that'll be something that most people won't be able to achieve, but they should be able to take off some of the graphical effects in order to get the kind of fidelity that they want, so that's not too bad. I think maybe a little bit more optimization is required. We might just see... Nice! We might just see the end product actually run better simply because of driver support. As far as I can tell, this is mostly optimized for AMD. They've been harping on about it for a while. We've heard about the Mantle low-level API technology they're going to be using to try and simply be more efficient than DirectX. We'll see if that actually works out. I know NVIDIA has had a chance to get their hands on it because there's a new beta driver out that is specifically designed for it, so it seems like they have been doing some testing with it, and it runs pretty well. Before I updated to the beta driver, though, I had some fairly severe performance problems. Like, there was these just absolutely gigantic drops in frame rate. But now it seems to be running pretty solid. I mean, I'm not displeased with the overall performance of it. I think it's pretty good for the most part. God, oh, there's a guy at the side. Great. Oh, and apparently there's a grenade launcher. I have never seen that. That must be an unlock or something. Interesting. Either that or it's one of the hidden weapons. Some of the areas in this game do have some hidden weapons. If the skyscraper is alive, there is a Barrett sniper rifle on the roof, which is really powerful. You can't get that any other way, from what I can tell. And there is also a lock-on triple launch rocket launcher, which is pretty effective because it locks onto both ground and air targets as long as you hold it. It's basically, I wouldn't say wire guided, but it's basically laser guided. You have to maintain the lock in order to get a hit with it. It's a nice little feature that they've put in there, and hopefully they can put some really interesting limited weapons that you can't usually grab by default. It's always nice to have a few super weapons in there, I feel. I'm gonna push across the river and try and take this. What is so crazy about this whole Levolution idea is the fact that this area is now completely different. That is not something we really saw in Battlefield 3. Point C is an entirely different beast when or if the building comes down. It's entirely different. It's almost a little trench warfare-esque, whereas otherwise it's got this interesting verticality to it. And a lot of this game does. You have to be worried about being shot from a high place, and that's not something you usually had to worry about in Battlefield 3. And it also means that transport choppers are way more useful this time, because you want to get to the top of the skyscraper, which is where the actual capture point is. You've either... Oh, god damn it, really? You've either got to get in the elevators, which is risky, because the elevators could be camped when you get up there and just get gunned down instantly. Or, alternatively, you need to take a transport chopper and actually land on the roof, which is a pretty damn cool thing to do. So, I like that. I think that's nice, and then hopefully they can incorporate the verticality into the game going forward with other maps. Obviously, this is kind of the only one that we've seen at this point, so hard to see just how relevant that will actually be outside of this, but I don't think we can take another hit, can we? No, we can't. Let's get the hell out of here. Oh, it's got an airburst up there and mowed me down anyway. Never mind. Never mind. The actual infantry combat is, I mean, it's solid. I would say that the guns are maybe slightly easier to aim than they were in Battlefield 3. It does seem like there's a bit less recoil to deal with. The assault rifle is still king, from what I can tell. It's a very, very powerful weapon. I think the only thing currently that I'm unhappy with is the PDW. It just seems like it takes too many shots to kill, and obviously the range issues with it can be a real problem. There needs to be a trade-off for a class that has a rocket launcher, obviously, but perhaps the trade-off was a little much. I'm not 100% sure yet. It's just the kind of feeling that I'm currently getting at this stage. Head up to the top right here. What I love about the maps in this game, which actually does make the infantry warfare significantly better than in previous titles, even though I still feel that you play this game for combined arms, you don't play it for infantry, are the sheer number of pathways in this level. There are so many places to go. If you remember Metro, yeah, horrible, horrible map. I remember, like, say, that market map from Battlefield 3. There were so many of these horrible chokes where you would end up just with an infantry massacre, because there really weren't all that many other ways to go. In this area, that isn't the case with most of the capture points. There are loads of different ways to go. A lot of the kind of shop fronts and things like that can be broken through to get to the other side. Like, there's a guy in here, for instance, who I somehow lost to. I probably should have aimed down the sights there, but never mind. There's a guy in there, there's guys everywhere, and there's a lot to explore on this level, and that's what really impresses me, I think, most about the actual level design when it comes to Battlefield 4 in comparison to Battlefield 3. That is not to say Battlefield 3 had universally bad maps, but by default, its starting maps were pretty bad, and the only thing we used to play, I think, was that desert map and Caspian border for the most part. Everything else we just ignored. And then finally, once Karkan came out, we were able to play stuff like that, but for the most part, it didn't really do all that well map-wise, but if this is what the maps are like in Battlefield 4, then I'll be pretty damn happy with it. The fact we can go up this high and it's actually useful for the most part is great. I'm gonna go drop down out of here, actually. We shall assault from the air. They will never see it coming. He's hoping I pull it out correctly. Oh dear. I think they may notice me. I think my stealthy approach has been ruined. Where did he go? He's disappeared. He's baggered off. No, he's right there. Look at him. Oh! Typical timing. That's fine. That'll let me look at the options menu as we go through here. So I can show you the kind of stuff that's available. What they do have, which I'm pretty happy with, is a good set of FOV options. It's not going to let me look at the options until we get past this. That's stupid. Why can't I customize my options here? Why would... Yeah, that's something they need to fix. Why would I sit on a score screen for 40 seconds when I maybe want to mess around with the options menu or something like that? That's a little bit silly. Well, never mind. Yeah, the options menu does contain pretty much everything you'd expect. It does have a direct FOV slider this time around, which is always nice. Oh, we're having people arguing over whether or not you should demolish the tower. That's interesting. Anyway, the FOV slider goes, I think, all the way up to about 120, 130, so there's plenty of visibility available, so that's always nice. And overall, it seems to have the options that you would want, so it's not too bad. Hopefully it'll actually let me into the game this time. I've had a lot of server kicking going on, so... there we go. Good. Very good. So in a moment, I should be able to show you that, and then we'll get into a little bit more combat. I'll try out a couple of the other classes for you. It does seem like the progression's a little bit of a snail's pace this time around. I assume there's just a bunch of stuff missing, because the overall loadouts available to you in this beta are very slim. I assume it's just because they don't want to show it all off before the actual game comes out. Alright, let's have a quick look at that options menu, shall we? There we go. So, exactly what you'd expect there. Raw mouse input defaults to on, which is just beautiful. It's so nice to have that. Very, very good. Always like the accuracy. No need to mess with that. There's a lot of stuff going on here. You can increase and decrease your HUD opacity, which is nice. Chat log, you can just hide it, which is just wonderful. Kill log, you can hide it. There's a good amount of customization to the UI, which I'm happy with there. If you look at video, there's your field of view. I've got it set to 95 right now, which is a good amount in my opinion. I could go higher than that, but obviously it's going to tax your graphics a little bit more. Colorblind mode is in the game. Well done, guys. Very good. And you can scale your HUD as well as scale your resolution. And those are your options. It's legit. Like, it is good. It really, really is. It seems to have everything that a growing body needs. Alright, let's get back in and shoot some more fools, shall we? We weren't going along too well this time around. I'm going to spawn at the transport chopper, I think, because I think we're going to the skyscraper, by the looks of it. There we go. Now, that's the skyscraper that we demolished last time around. The animation's a bit bugged out in the beta, I've got to say, but this is a wonderful place to fight, because it usually becomes an absolute hilarious massacre very, very early on. You can capture it with a transport chopper, but people can also shut it down with the rocket launcher that you saw earlier. Man, it's just, there is so much height this time around. And look at the amount of stuff you can see. And that's what impresses me most. It's not, ooh, you know, what new shinies are there? It's just, look at how big our map is now. And look at how much awesome stuff you can do on it. If every map is like this, then that's going to be extremely impressive, I gotta say. There we go, that's that transport chopper dealt with quite nicely. I think we're gonna jump off here and help with the capture. We'll see if we can get that Barrett sniper rifle as well. I think it's over here. Actually, no, that's the multi-rocket launcher. I'll take that as well. There we go. So this is one of the weapons I was talking about. One of the kind of super weapons you can get. On the top of someone knifed me! What the... Oh, God, that should be illegal. Well, I guess we're not showing that one off for you. Courtesy of Sholos, the bastard. What a dick. What a dick. Yeah, there's a Barrett up there as well, which is a lot of fun to use. It's a pretty powerful weapon. Alright, round we come again. Let's not go this low. That sounds like a terrible idea. Why are we even here? Oh god, oh god. We're all gonna die. Every last one of us. Yeah, you drop that, him off there, and we'll try and go up the roof, maybe. See if I can switch over to one of the guns. There we go. This should be a little bit more helpful. This metro area is quite a lot of fun as well. A little bit of underground in there. I'm just... Even though it's an urban combat environment, I'm still pretty impressed by the variety of places to fight, which results in some really interesting moments. I do wonder what they can do on other maps, yeah? Because, yeah, at the end of the day, it's an urban combat map. The helicopter vanished, but that's kind of to be expected. The beta's a little bit buggy right now. It's an urban combat map, but they've still managed to put a good amount of different ways to fight in it. So I'm hoping that they're able to keep doing that with the other maps as well. And that we don't just have, basically, say, 24/7 Caspian border service, because that's like the only map that was really worth playing at the start. It's a nice mix of infantry warfare and the combined arms stuff. I don't know really why they're focusing so much on domination this time around. The idea of, oh, it's an infantry only... Why? It's just... Why would you have an infantry-only mode in Battlefield? I mean, don't get me wrong, the infantry combat's okay. It's decent, it's functional, but it's the combined arms that really makes Battlefield Battlefield. Otherwise, you're just kind of playing a slightly slower Call of Duty, especially with the slightly easier-to-use weapons this time around. They're not bullet hoses by any stretch, but they do seem a little easier to use, and it's just a little bit more arcadey. So I think Battlefield just has to keep playing to its strengths, and that's the big maps, the 64-player, and the combined arms. And the fact that they put boats in it this time around, and there are jets in the game as well, but not on this map, is great. I'd just like to be able to hijack one of these cars and drive around in it. That would be great. Get back here. There we go. I will happily go there. Not hitting him from here. That's not going to happen. What I've also noticed is there seems to be a bit of a tank nerf this time around. Like, you don't have a lot of ammunition. You can fire a good number of shots, but once you've done that, it takes forever for ammo to actually regenerate. So you don't have a huge amount of shots with your main cannon, which does make the tanks just a little bit less ridiculous. So I'm fairly happy about that. I can't really comment the other vehicle balance, if any. It feels pretty good for the most part. I don't really have too many complaints. And I think the fact that they've designed the map so well, allowing so many places to go and hide from tanks, is the biggest thing. It really does do a great job of making tanks a little bit less powerful. They're still great. You know, getting a tank is still awesome, but you're not going to slaughter an entire infantry force because there's going to be so many places that they can kind of run away and hide, which is just wonderful. No soup for you. Thank you. So overall, I'm pretty impressed with Battlefield 4 so far. I mean, it does seem like it's more of the same. The biggest complaint I think I probably have with it is it's like, it is not a big iteration. It's not this huge paradigm shift like between Battlefield 2 and 3. But even then, that's kind of unfair because we had Bad Company 1 and 2 between there and then. So you've got to say, well, actually, did we really expect a huge shift? I mean, you could talk about Battlefield 2142 all you please, but a lot of people don't consider that kind of a mainline Battlefield game just because it was so different. But it was cool that it was so different. That was one of the awesome things about it. It is still the same old Battlefield, it's just refined yet again. And I'm okay with that. I don't think the Levolution's as big a deal as they claim. It's been very much a marketing buzzword, which I think was kind of to be expected. It does change the dynamic of that one point, but it doesn't change the dynamic of the rest of the level, really. Perhaps because there's just so many other places to fight that Point C doesn't actually become all that relevant in the grand scheme of things. Get the chopper! Get the chopper! Oh, so many hits and he's still not dead. Oh, very nice. That's what I'm talking about. That was absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. But even though it doesn't make a huge number of changes, it's still a very, very good FPS. And I don't think there's really any way to deny that. It plays very, very well. Even in the beta, it feels very, very polished. There are definitely some bugs that need to be figured out, and I'd like the optimization to be better than it currently is. But I think that it is a very well-rounded multiplayer experience. I'm interested to see what the other game modes are like. I'll probably just play a bunch more Rush, because I thought Rush was a really nice game mode. I'm not necessarily so keen on playing only Conquest, and I definitely don't want to play Domination or Squad Deathmatch or anything like that. There's a couple more modes like Diffuse. I'm not really sure if that's going to work out too well either. I think there's some limited vehicles available in that, so we'll see. Maybe that might be good for a giggle from time to time, but Conquest is still very much the premier game mode, and rightfully so, because it is what Battlefield is expected to be. And I suppose you can't really mess with that formula too much, can you? And I suppose that's okay. It's just maybe after 2 years you would expect them to make a major change in the way that they execute Battlefield. I suppose for the most part they're going with the idea of if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And just see what you can improve from a graphical or sound design standpoint. And I gotta say, you know, from a sound design standpoint, this game is, without question, the leader when it comes to great sound effects. Awesome, awesome ambience, great atmosphere, fantastic sound engineering across the board, and now it's coupled with phenomenal graphics that don't have that terrible blue bloody filter on them anymore. That's the best thing. Thank God they got rid of that. Why ruin your perfectly good experience with that? I cannot understand that at all. We are rocking it in this tank, what can I say? So before I go, we'll have a little look, I suppose, at another class. Because I've showed you Assault. We'll maybe grab the class with the XM25 in it. That would be nice. Let's kill myself, there we go. There we go, so this is the U100 Mark V, which does have a bipod, you can put that on there, and the XM25 Airburst here as well. So where's most of the combat going on? It's a good question. I think we're pushing just in this direction in general, so let's rock and roll. Alright, so there's your LMG. Hollow sight on this one, as you can see. Kicks a decent amount vertically, but not as much as the old LMGs. You pretty much had to be crouching or using a bipod to make those work, but this time around, not necessarily. They seem to work pretty well regardless. That's a tank! Why is there a tank in the metro? Ugh. Why is there a tank in the metro? I suppose that's Battlefield. I guess we'll grab the engineer and try and get rid of it with that. Recons are pretty good this time around from what I could tell. Sniper rifles, relatively easy to use for the most part. Of course, you can still put a bipod on the sniper, and they still have the scope glint from Battlefield 3, so they're fairly easy to spot for the most part. Here you go, have some rockets. That's a good vehicle hit. Let's try and pull that off again. Oh! Didn't get the shot off. It was ready for me. How disgusting. There should not be a tank in the metro. That is not allowed and is against health and safety regulations. Jeez. Hopefully he stays there so I can spawn and kill the bastard. I'm gonna have him. I am gonna have him. This is going to happen whether he likes it or not. Here, take one of them. Oh, it's a good hit. It's a good hit. Yes! How is it not dead yet? It's eaten so many RPGs already. Oh, damn, come on, die! This is bad news. Oh, come on, how many hits can you take in that thing? Can we not have the tanks in the metro? That might be something that's worthy of changing, I think, in the beta. That was terrible. A tank in an enclosed space like this is just, ugly. But you can see a store absolutely ravaged by them. It's in the store! It's not allowed in the store! Tanks don't go shopping! This is bollocks. This is unrealistic. DICE, please. Please stop. Oh god, I'll grab a recon here. I'm not getting the best KD this time around, am I? No. Not at all, but I guess that is to be expected. That's not what I came to show you. You know, I'm really impressed by it so far, I gotta be honest. It's pretty much what I expected, but the fact that they executed it so well and it feels so damn good. I think I'll play it when it comes out. I think it's pretty safe to say. This is not gonna go well, is it? Yeah, let's... Time to leave. This seems like a perfect place to land. Let's see who we can pick off from up here. Alright, I have this laser target designator, as you can see here. Can actually put a lock on that helicopter so RPGs can shut it down. And do a little bit of that. That can be pretty useful. It's a rangefinder as well, which is always good. Alright, who can we shoot? Hello. What do we have here? Ah! Not good. Stop your moving. Shooting from this angle is really weird. It's difficult to do. I think I'm leading the target a little bit too much, actually. There's a hit. There we go. And he's about to get stabbed, but I will take that kill myself, thank you very much. Yeah, I think just even the verticality of the levels is an indirect buff to the recon class, honestly. Just because you can get up on one of these buildings, you can start sniping. Remember the crane in Battlefield 2? Oh, yeah. Now, that was something worth sniping on, but it was like the only place on that level. That was Karkand, wasn't it? I think it was. Let's see if we can get a lock on that vehicle. There we go. I was talking about verticality. Yeah, he was even higher than me, but there you go. Yeah, so that's it. That's Siege of Shanghai right now, folks. I don't have a huge number of problems with it. The beta is definitely ropey in places, optimization problems, a lot of weird bugs and things like that. Not as bad as the launch of the Battlefield 3 beta, with people disappearing through frickin' floors, though. I'll tell you that for a fact. So that's not too bad. It's an impressive game, and I have no doubt that everybody's going to end up enjoying it in multiplayer. I haven't found anything to really complain too much about. Maybe the boats are a little bit OP. You haven't really got a chance to see that, but boats are pretty good in this game. That's really about it. You know, it's an incredibly impressive next-gen FPS. Which I will probably play until Titanfall comes along, because that's a game that actually has some interesting ideas. BF4 might not have interesting ideas, but it does what it does very, very well. Which I guess is an endorsement, about as much as you can get when you spend 2 years basically making the same game. I never was a good sniper. Especially not when you have characters warping all over the place. Jeez. Yeah, they do need to solve that. There's a little bit of rubber banding and warping going on in the beta right now. And it's rather frustrating. But there you go. Battlefield 4 beta, that is going to be available to everyone on October the 4th. Hopefully you will enjoy it. And if they put some new maps in, then I'll happily show you those. My name's been TotalBiscuit. Thank you very much for watching. And I'll see you next time.